About 36 protesters were at Albert and Preston Streets during the morning commute on Wednesday to oppose a city plan to divert all the buses from the Transitway onto Albert when the Transitway is converted to LRT towards the end of 2015 and into 2016. Some of the protesters wore masks to illustrate their concerns about air pollution from those buses because Albert Street is right next to homes. And we talked to Mayor Jim Watson about this after today's council meeting. Here's what he had to say.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I've met, and I've asked staff to come back to see what they can do to reduce the number of buses, and there are other alternatives. But I've been very clear with the community. I have to be upfront and honest and say, look, you can't simply not use Scott and Albert Street. They're used now by vehicles, and we will make sure that we minimize the disruption on the street. But I wasn't quite sure of the protest because they're walking across the street at a intersection with a traffic light. So I'm not sure the purpose of their protest, to be perfectly honest. I think if you go back there in a couple of days and you see the low volume of people that want to go from one side of the street to the other, it's very minimal, quite frankly. The people crossing towards LeBreton Flats, there are not a lot of people there. So you go back in a couple of days and compare what you saw with the protest, and I think you'll be quite surprised. The people, the large numbers that go over there are often during Blues Fest, walking down there, or people that have to get to the Transitway station, because as you know, there's nothing on that other side of the street.
However, a lot of those residents are concerned about buses stopping on Albert Street and people having to get across the street to catch other buses going to Gatineau. Now, next month, the city is expected to come to a community meeting and lay out their full plan for the bus detour, and residents in that community are hoping to see fewer buses on the detour. For Sun Media, I'm John Willing.